is Rock and Roll Grad School with your hosts Heidi Hedquist and Luke Poling. They were dreaming when they wrote this. Forgive them if it goes astray.
Hello, kitties. We are going to have a real good time together. I think this might be the first time on the history of the show that we interviewed somebody, and then within a week, one of us saw that person play live.
Is it?
It might be.
I don't know. I feel
It's
like
a small, our sample size is not huge.
Maybe that's that small of a window. But I mean, we've seen shortly after talking to people.
Certainly, yes. Our friend John Doe, friend of the show.
Right. Well, RTZ was like 2 weeks before you saw him.
Oh, you're right. Maybe. I think it's just because we released it last week. But
regardless, let's talk about how much cooler you are than me because you saw them right after we talked to them.
Well, I credit nothing to me. I credit Rod Stewart's summer tour schedule. Fine. For whom they are opening. But it was great. Everything you wanted. RTZ got the shout out, saying drowned.
Mm-hmm.
It's great.
Nice.
Not the reception I would have thought. I heard a couple people afterwards being like Nepo babies, which I'm like, okay, I guess. But at least I think you could argue both children, both Dax Nielsen and RTZ.
Yes.
They can back that up.
Yeah, much like the second generation of Finn brothers also can back it up.
That's true. Yes, very much so. I'm seeing them tomorrow. So
I know. Look at you. You're like big supporter of the Nepo babies.
Yeah.
Apparently, as am I. But
yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
But it was great. They did not play Come On, Come On, which was the one I was hoping for. But they did do Light Up the Fire.
Nice.
Which was exciting. The elder was very excited about that. Opened with Hello There, ended with Goodbye.
Nice.
Threw in an Auf Wiedersehen.
Nice.
Yeah, everything you would want, it was great.
What did the elder think?
He liked it. And when I said, I think they're playing Bethlehem and not Philly because they've got the 50th anniversary tour, as Robin mentioned. Before the show, he was like, okay, I want to go. And afterwards, I was like, I gave it a night and was like, what do you think? You still want to go? Like, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the thing is that theater, such as it is a convention center, in the day.
Right.
So it is folding chairs and completely flat. So yeah, he was a little bit out of luck when the sirens went off and they played Dream Police.
Yeah, I get that.
But it was enough. And we had watched maybe Sunday, this weekend at some point, there's a video series online, and I can't remember who it was, but they went through Rick Nielsen's guitar case, like road case with his roadie, and then he came out and talked about a few things, and I modified this way. And so many of the guitars that they were talking about, he then was playing on Sunday.
Nice. That's cool.
So the airbrushed Beatles one, what's it? Oh, is it Uncle Dick? Is the one that's like the one of him, the double neck?
Oh, yeah. I can't remember the name, but yeah.
He did not get out the 5-string, but ended the night playing a guitar that looks like a saxophone.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I have seen such guitar.
But it was lovely.
Good. I'm so glad.
But we should talk about Twilight Muse momentarily, since they will be along shortly.
Yes.
Listening back to it, I still disagree with your assertion that I asked them the worst first question someone could ask a person.
I don't think I made it quite well. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah. I thought it got us to where it needed to go.
It did,
which was the
intent. I don't discredit that. And we will go with that was all part of the plan.
Yes. I come on like an a-hole and you say, hey, a-hole, don't do that. And then suddenly we have a rapport and they get the show.
It is kind of fun when that happens.
Yeah. So, but we recover.
Oh, I thought you were going to say we take turns being the a-hole. Because we do.
Sure. Yeah. Trade off.
Mm-hmm.
but they are a lovely duo. I was going to say folk duo. I mean, in that they are folks, but they're kind of a weird amalgam of inspirations.
Yeah, they're cool. It's a
Yeah.
cool, it's a
The
cool
press
sound.
release says R&B, which I don't think, yes, it's in there, but I feel like they've got some other stuff too.
They do. They definitely do. Like they're again one of those bands. Just experience them. Just give them a listen.
Yeah.
You don't need pretenses or any of that. Just give them a listen,
Just
and
give them a listen.
you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
You feel better about things.
At least one of us does.
At least for a moment.
Yes, exactly.
So you know, I've been thinking about all our conversation, the push, the pull, the spark, the pregnant pause, the raw infatuation. I know you feel it.
Congratulations on the record and the singles being out. Does it bother you? I feel like, I mean, the name of the band sort of gives it away, but I feel like so much of the press is around like, oh, they're older. I mean, not really older, but does it matter? Partially is the question, but does it bug you that that's sort of the like?
That's a
angle
terrible
everyone
question,
takes?
Luke.
Oh, you know what, Heidi? Screw you. Okay.
We're
I'm
okay
younger,
with it.
so
We're okay with it. I feel
You
like
are.
it's not. I'm not like personally, I'm not mad about it at all because like I don't know, who cares? Like at least we're doing it. Like shut up, you know?
Right.
But also like I think it's like kind of inspirational because sometimes people maybe get married or have kids or do something really early in their life and they put stuff on hold or they go for their career to like make the money or whatever. And then this creative side just falls by the wayside. But like, if you made those sacrifices earlier in life, you now can do it now. Maybe you have more time or you're like not going to give up on it. So I think it's like good. Maybe like, let's get some more old people doing music. Like I'm for it.
well, I mean, to your
We're
point.
not even old.
I know. I like
Well,
that's
this is
the
the
whole
thing.
like.
It's like, but what the hell does a 19-year-old have to tell me about life? Is my feeling. But it just seems like, I mean, even the name of the band, Twilight Muse, you even it mentions in the press release, and I hate to keep blaming everything on the press release. But I guess I am. But like the idea of, I mean, Twilight and Muse, like this sort of end of day, like is it trying to say we're all going to be dead soon, or is this
No.
just my optimism?
Okay, you want to know what I got out of the
Okay.
name Twilight Muse?
Please enlighten us all.
Well, twilight is the golden hour, right? It's the most beautiful time of day. It's the most inspirational, sexiest, just nothing bad can happen at twilight. And therefore, if you are the muse of twilight, there's what's better than that, right? Or either
Okay.
Twilight is often the muse, but if you are the muse of Twilight, that's even cooler.
Whoa, Heidi for the win.
Totally.
I'll show myself out.
Twilight, been really nice.
And I'm probably the oldest one on the call, so go old lady.
I also think there's something going on right now in our culture, maybe, partly because, there are so many young artists, right, who are kind of breaking out through these new platforms that, to be honest, some of us don't even understand, like what's going on TikTok and like, which is great. But I think other audiences like us are looking for authenticity and something that's like, we're living in this age where artificial intelligence can create songs. It's like, what the hell? And Luke, as you said, like, what does a 16 or an 18 or 20-year-old have to tell us? And these songs, which Meg and I, wrote together, like with unbelievable ease, are really all based on like, hard fought life experience, like, relationships and like work-life balance and raising kids, but then also like romance and inspiration and dream space and like these concepts that, we all are thinking about. And actually, I feel like it is sort of a moment where people are doing a lot of reassessing and kind of asking that question. Like, I saw Bono at the Beacon Theater this week with his new solo project.
I'm going
And, like,
Wednesday.
going next week?
Yeah, Wednesday, I'll be there. I
It's
can't wait.
incredible. But, to me, I came out of that going, this guy is like, they revisited their old catalog. They did 40 redos of old tunes. He's doing this autobiographical piece. Obviously, Springsteen did that on Broadway a few years ago. We've got David Byrne doing new theater stuff. So many women artists. Natalie Merchant's on tour again with a new album. She's an old friend of mine. Like Jerry Harrison from Talking Heads is touring with Adrian Belew doing Remain in Light. Like, I feel like a lot of people are both revisiting their catalog and rethinking kind of the role of music, like real music in our culture. And so, I would say that Meg and I, we're sort of the more like the Grandma Moses approach. Like you weren't like having big careers at a young age, then coming back to it. We're just emerging now, but both of us have had music like in our lives and in our blood since we were little,
Yeah.
and we finally found the time to kind of focus on it and make it a priority.
It seems like did the pandemic help that?
Yeah, I feel like this whole thing like really accelerated during that time. And maybe that's why this all like really happened, is because, for so many, and myself, from my own personal experience, it's like, I just felt like invisible during the pandemic. Like, you are working at your desk in your house, like doing this thing, like trying to keep your job. Everyone's, all these crazy things are happening. My baby was 3 months old. Like, so I go from being like working like 14-hour days at the time to being a mom. And then there's like, we lived in an apartment at the time. When the baby went to bed, my husband and I were like locked in our room, like, shh.
Right. Don't say a word.
And then we would like go to bed and I'm like, what are we doing? Like, we have no life. Like, there's nothing. So it was like a real awakening that like I needed an outlet. And Andrew and I were still doing the stuff with ultrasound. But it was sort of coming to a close, like people's lives were changing because of all of it. And I felt more inspired to answer the calling at that time, to be like, I need to have something. Like, obviously, like my husband and I would have a thing, like I had my baby and like, but like I needed something for me. And this just felt right. And Andrew was my partner in all this, like he was there too, experiencing his own thing. So I think it just was, if we're going to look at a silver lining, that's definitely one of them.
I think
Absolutely. Can I just tell the story of during COVID, we, like a lot of musicians, we were trying to figure out like how to do stuff remotely. And the first song, we were like, let's do a cover of Led Zeppelin, Whole Lotta Love, but like the Tina Turner version, like this like slow burn, if you guys know that one.
Yeah.
And Meg just like, how are we gonna shoot this? She's like, I've got this baby in the house, I can't sing at the top of my lungs. She's like, I'm gonna get in my car. She did like a incredible, it was like super grainy but emotionally resonant live performance of the vocal against all the backing tracks that I had recorded and sent to her. And it just totally worked. It was an album moment. And I think that got us going. And then we did a cover of Fleetwood Mac Dreams and made a video for that. And then a really fun one we did was You Should Be Dancing, the Bee Gees song. And Meg was like, Meg's secret, which she won't tell, is that she had a youthful career as a professional dancer, and she kind of put on the moves during the You Should Be Dancing video, like, but basically dancing on the street and in her garage.
No place better.
It's really liberating. Like, you'll like, based on what I was just saying, and then you'll see these videos and you're like, wow, like she needed to get out. Like,
well, but the car seems like the best isolation booth there could be.
I mean, I describe myself as a car singer. I think I'm a professional car singer, if I'm gonna say, but like, that's like where, I mean, that's where it all started for me. That's where my mom would sing, and you're like, Mom, shut up. Like at a certain age, it's like not cool anymore. And then you get a little older and then you're singing with your mom. And now, I'm the one singing in the car, but I mean, I love to sing in the car. So it just felt right. And it was really the only place I could go where I wasn't going to wake everyone up and the neighbors were going to be like, why is someone screaming? A lot of love.
Is Robert Plant around? Is it what's going on?
Right, what's going on?
Like, what is going on in there?
That's amazing. The car has it all over the shower. I fully agree. The shower is way overrated for
There's
singing.
good acoustics in the shower, but you don't really get that
Right.
factor.
I agree. And yes, I agree, but still.
Yeah.
So what was it? Because looking at your website and all of that, tell me a little bit about the moment you two realized that you two were meant to do this together, as opposed to with everybody else you're working with and all of that, that this was meant to be the two of you.
Do you want to tell your side first?
No, you go first.
All right. So I'm going to say this is a cheat, but there's two moments when I knew Andrew was the one, we'll say. Okay. So first, when I first met him, we were at this like open jam session. It was like really loose. It's like a bunch of years ago. It's like before anything had started. And it was probably like 15 people, like just kind of like jamming at the studio, really like fun. And Andrew came late, like, it was like kind of hustled in, sat down the piano, and then just started like belting tunes. And I was really the only other singer there. There were other people singing, and then he had to leave. He had to like go to a meeting or something. And I'm like, wait, where is he going? Like, who is that guy? So there was like that. I like, and we kind of had some moments like singing together, but it was like really fast because he had to go and, whatever. And then the other time for me, which is like more closer to present day, is when I first showed Andrew Oh Mama. So it was like a song I had written like a really long time ago and just had been playing with forever. And I just sang it to him. And then the next time he's like, let's do that again. And I'm going to play the piano. And it was like he was inside my head and played the piano exactly the way I had heard it. And just to remind you, like, I'm not a professional. I can't say I'm singing this in C and do this in D. I don't know. I'm just like,
Sounds
Andrew,
good.
knew exactly. And I was like, whoa, like, and the demo, the first demo of Oh Mama to me is incredible. Like, it's incredible because it just worked. So like, it was just that moment, like the intro moment. And then like, and for me, that was like, okay, we're going to like write some songs together. Like, and then it kind of like catapulted from there. So that's my cheat 2 answer.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would only add that I do remember too that initial meeting, and you can hear from Meg's voice. We were actually playing a gig last night, a gig for a friend of ours, and she was singing her heart out. And we saw the guy who had actually pulled us all together, and we were reminiscing about how far we've come. But so there was that moment, and I can remember one tune that we played together with ultrasound where like something just completely clicked, and it was Stop Dragging My Heart Around by Tom Petty and Stevie Nicks. And there's something about the chemistry of that song, even though it's mostly Stevie, like Petty comes in and the parts that he comes in, and there's just, we sang it that way, and we've done it, performed it many times, and it was just like, this just fits right. It works. And then, as Meg said, once we, playing covers is playing covers. It's fun. But once we started writing music together, we literally it was seamless. It was like Meg will send me a lyric fragment. She'll send me a melody. She'll send me like a couple of words. And it somehow catalyzes like me to be like, okay, I think these are the chords. I think this is the song structure. I think this is the rest of the verse. And we have one song, Audacious, on the album that's almost like a fictional version of us writing stuff together, where Meg sings, you wrote the chorus, I wrote the verse, because that's how we are. Like, we split it up. There are some songs that, Meg might start more and I might start more, but all of them have this kind of yin yang, like, back and forth to them. and that's when we also realized like we were meant to do these and sing them as duets. And then there is this male and female perspective, which you don't find that much anymore. I mean, there's a few acts out there, but we think it's something kind of unique, and combining that with like the life stage stuff, we're hoping that message kind of resonates with folks. So we talk about our relationship. It's like our musical crush and relationship, and
For sure.
Right.
it's a fun stand-in.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like the assumption would be that it would be an Elton John, Bernie Taupin kind of thing where one does the lyrics, one does the music. But you guys, it's a mishmash of everything with each of you throwing in different pieces of it.
We both write lyrics and we both write music, even though, as Meg said, like she doesn't play an instrument, but it's in her head.
She's got a car.
I've got a car, baby.
So,
I
She plays the
mean,
car.
yeah.
yes.
And it's worked really well. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll be like Andrew will like have an idea on something. I'm like, but what if it's like near instead? Like,
Oh, near,
literally, like,
near?
yes,
Okay,
of course.
yeah.
and like now Andrew like speaks Meg, like, he's like, okay, music for dummies with Meg. I get it.
That's perfect. Some of the greats have not played
I hope
instruments.
so.
Paul McCartney couldn't read music for the longest time.
Right.
Me and Paul are just basically
I mean,
It's
clearly.
yet another thing you two have in common.
Yes. That's all you need to know. You and Paul. It's
Right,
perfect.
right. He was just in my town, by the way. He was like having
Oh.
like, this little cafe. I'll just tell people that he was like stopping by to like
Yes.
talk
You
music.
guys were songwriting together, just making weird sounds and figuring out what note, as someone else was figuring out the notes.
Exactly.
It's perfect. I love it.
Was it hard to kind of make the switch? Andrew, you mentioned the I'm blanking all of a sudden here. Your former group that was more ultrasound that was more funk based than what you guys are doing now. I mean, the tracks, the singles that are out, it's not just like guitar and two vocals. It's got a full production to it. Were you growing tired of the funk, or do you still need to give up the funk?
We'll always give up the fun.
Okay. it's important.
I think Meg and I both have a feeling like we have so many musical influences and so many genres of music that we just love.
Mhm.
The band we were in was a funk oriented band. We covered, we did we covered some classic rock and some jam stuff, but we've played a lot of different things. And I think in our original music, there's multiple influences. The two tracks we've released so far, Dream Space and Destination U, are more kind of indie rock, kind of almost Americana infused tracks. But we have a couple others. In fact, this is partly because we worked with 3 different producers and their styles are a little different. One of the New York producers, Will Baker, who's got his own studio out in Brooklyn, Slide Studios, he's more like doing hip hop, contemporary R&B stuff. So some of the tracks we did with him have a little bit, more of that flavor. Whereas Dan McKenzie in Los Angeles, who's worked with like Martin Sexton and Joss Stone and people like that, like those are the, like he did Dream Space, and that has more of a Americana indie rock kind of feel, which I think is close to our heart. I mean, we love, we're always talking about influences, Neil Young, Wilco, Ryan Adams, that kind of sound. But we also love, Stevie Wonder and Mavis Staples and, new contemporary stuff. And so we want to have access to it all.
Did that worry you, going with 3 producers, that you were going to get 3 disparate sounds that didn't click together on a record? Or did you guys feel like you had enough going that you thought you could kind of have that be the through line musically?
Good question. Part of me is like, I mean, I think it was like strategic in certain ways, like, but also like, let's get a different POV. I think when we wrote like the songs, we kind of knew like Forever is very different than a lot of the other songs, but at the same time, it's a story there's something about this relationship. There's like I feel like all the songs are sort of a conversation between two people, like, and in this case, like, it's me and Andrew, like, having this conversation, like, that's what we're kind of getting people to think about. But so when the songs were like different, when we worked with Will on Forever, it wasn't like, oh, this can't go on the album. It's like, it belongs because the themes and the things that we're singing about make sense. And then, I don't know. I mean, but then like working with Dan McKenzie is like amazing. Like we had such a fun time with him, and it just happened to be that Andrew and I were both in LA to be able to work with him like live. And Andrew had already worked with him, but like, so then it was like, yeah, and then there's Jason Cummings, who's in Brooklyn, and he's got a really awesome style. So like now it's like when we write a song, we're like, this, Will would be amazing for this, or like, we should give this to Jason, or like, let's go to LA and do it with Dan. Like, I think that's kind of awesome, personally.
Yeah. You never hear anyone. I feel like every time you interview someone, they always go, "Oh, this producer was amazing. This producer was good." No one ever is like, "Yeah, he was fine. He did his thing, I guess."
We've heard
Have
it a
we?
couple times. Yeah,
Have
not
we?
not often.
I've
But
blocked
every
it
now
out,
and
I
again,
guess.
you'll just get the, yeah,
Yeah.
it was a
They
great,
were in the room too, I
it
guess.
was a great experience. It was an honor to work with them. People loved them. But
Yeah,
no, more often than not.
I feel like if you had a bad experience, like, I could see how it could go bad. I could see that, like, if there's not like a chemistry, or you're not like feeling open, or you're like nervous and you feel like you're being pushed or something, like, I could see that being a tough experience. But like, I don't know, chemistry is everything. You want to work
Sure.
with people who you want to work with. So
Right.
yeah.
I mean, otherwise
to
it
give-
really feels like work.
Yeah.
One example of that, I mean, Electrify Me is a track on the album that's kind of, like a new wave 80s type rocker, right? Like the Cars, or, the Romantics, or something like that. And Jason, we just, having listened to other music that he'd produced and done on his own, we were like, this guy's going to be perfect for this. And he blew us away with like it's like a power pop kind of new wavy type song, and it worked for that theme, which is different than a lot of the other tracks.
Yeah.
So what's next on the agenda?
Well, we're close to confirming a show in July in New York. We should be able to announce that really, really soon. And that will kind of like coincide with the album drop. And we're working on new material already, which is cool. I don't know what else, Andrew.
A lot. That's a lot.
A lot. That's a lot. We've got, we're excited about the release of the album. We're getting great feedback from folks, and yeah, we love playing live, so we'll be out there again, and hopefully folks can follow us on all the normal channels and places to see when we're playing next. But we're looking forward to more of that.
And it seems like a good, I don't know if omen's the right word, but like, you just finished a record and you're like, but we got more here. We can still keep talking and having this conversation.
We were just having the conversation actually about, a track that we're like, oh man, should we try to add this? And it was like, all right, we've got 7 songs. That's an album. Let's roll.
Yeah.
We're gonna tee it up for number 2, but we were just talking about this last night.
Yeah.
Because we're getting excited about writing more material, and it's all again coming from life experience. And this new track, Meg, I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
Yeah. So we started writing this new song. I just shared it with Andrew a couple weeks ago. It was like sort of a semi-tragedy in my family, which is like kind of the norm if you listen to the songs, but it's just like an outlet for me. Like, I'm not like a depressed person. I always used to say, actually, Mick Jagger said it best, like, I know it's only rock and roll, but I like it. And I think about that sometimes. And like, sometimes sad music is really therapeutic, or like,
for sure,
hardcore lyrics or something. So, my uncle had essentially like had this, he like got really sick, like self-induced sick, whatever. And to me, it was like a death, it was like a death. He's alive, but like it was like the spirit of this person who was so important to me, like a father to me, had quote died. And I was like very sad. And I'm like, oh my God, I just like don't have time to be sad. I have to like go do all this other shit and like go to work. And so I'm like, I'm just gonna like write down how I'm feeling about it in like a song, because now I like do that. So I just started writing this song, and right now like working title is like The Mayor. And I just shared it with Andrew. Like my first instinct was like, share it with Andrew, like, hey, this whole thing happened today, but I wrote this song about it. And then he's like, over the next 48 hours, I've got like 10 different like takes from him, like doing it. And like the song is really good. Like, I think it's really good, but it's like so raw. And it's like really like, I don't know, it's just very emotional. Like I sent it to Fran, my husband, and he's like, whoa, okay. I'm like, he's like, I really like this song, but like, fuck, Meg, that's sad. And I'm like,
You're
yeah,
scaring me. Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, but it's like also a great story. And it actually reminds me of, so last night, Andrew and I, we played this charity gig, and then we went to this show at Webster Hall, the Walkmen. I don't know if you know the band.
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton is like a hero, like an epic hero. And in one of his latest albums, he has that song, The Bride's Dad. I don't know if you know the song, but he's basically telling a story about being at this wedding, and there's this dad who is obviously estranged from his daughter. The whole family hates him. He's a disaster, but he gives the speech and he tells the story through song. And I can't listen to the song without sobbing every time, but it's an amazing song. Like it's so good. And so it sort of like reminds me of that. Like it's very emotional. It's very like tuned into like exactly what's happening in a way. But I think those are the songs that, are the songs, you want something that you're going to connect to and feel like you're part of it.
Yeah. I mean, Graham Parsons and many others made a whole career out of
Totally
writing incredibly sad music.
Yeah, and you're like, but like you can change the musicality of a song so it's not like piano, sad, depressing. Like go in other places and like be singing about sad shit in a hyped up way, like a lot of the blues songs and soul songs really about like heartache and disco, like like there's a lot of sad things happening in disco, but like let's go to Studio 54 and just forget about it.
Dance it away.
Yeah.
Debut album by Twilight, Muse is available wherever you get your music on June 9th. For more information, for links to Facebook and Instagram, check out their website, twilightmuse.nyc.
You can check us out on all the various socials. Be sure to visit our website at rockandrollgradschool.com, and don't forget to leave us a review.
Today's show is produced by myself and Heidi Hedquist. Our reluctant producers are John Sauvé and Sandy Stone. Our willing producers are Rachel Allen and Randy Jeanette. Our intern is Zach Jackson. This one's for Philippe. Thank you, good night, and may all your favorite bands stay together.